Hey, what's up everybody? This is Jason from LiveRelentlessly.com again, and we are back covering our final finish for Relentless Strength 101, the third-part series that's actually bringing you guys the general information for you to get stronger in the gym. Today what we're actually going to be covering is actually the 4 different training energy systems. I just wanted to briefly cover each one just so you guys know what type of training you're doing in the gym and how it actually is going to benefit you. Okay? The first thing we're going to talk about is power. Now, power training is going to be the #1 most explosive type energy that we're going to use in the gym, okay? The energy that we're going to be using is very short, okay? So what it is, it's basically like as soon as you hear the gunshot from the Olympics, somebody's taking off and sprinting. That is our power training, okay? Again, the duration of power training is very short. We're talking about maybe like 1 to 7 seconds of training, okay? You take very long breaks during power training because we actually want to physically get better at it. So if we continue to do our sprints or continue to do our jumps, what's going to happen is our power actually gets lower and lower and lower. So to get better at power training, we have to take longer breaks. Okay? What we would use power training for is basically performance. So performance training, we're getting better at jumping, we're getting better at sprinting. What I will use my power training for all of you out there who are watching the video, is for maybe somebody who's just about warming up. So if we do a couple hurdle jumps or a couple box jumps, we're actually going to warm ourselves up and prep ourselves for the next phase. Okay? So power training, finishing this up, we're looking at about 1 to 6 sets, 1 to 3 reps, very low rep range, and you need about 3 to 10 minutes rest. Okay? Again, 1 to 6 sets, 1 to 3 reps, very short amount, 3 to 10 minute rest. In this long of rest period, we're actually going to improve our performance. Okay, so think about true all-on-out sprints. Okay, now moving on, we are going to move on to strength right now. Okay, so what we've been covering the last 2 topics is the strength is going to be the second most explosive exercise. And what I mean by that, it's more controlled explosive. So it's not as fast as the sprint, but it could be heavy weight that we're really trying to maybe do a bench press or do a deadlift in. Okay. Our energy system that's going to be using this, if you notice I laid them 5 all the way down, this is going to be like the 4th most, okay? The energy system is going to be a little bit of stored carbohydrate mixed with some oxygen to actually push weight, okay? The duration of exercise is going to be from short to medium. And what that means is it's not quite as quick as the power training, but it's going to last a little bit longer. So we're talking about maybe 10 to maybe 20 seconds of work, okay? Again, you're going to need long breaks, just very similar to the power training. The longer breaks are going to help you actually ensure that you get a full recovery so that you can actually get stronger. And if you're thinking about this, if you were to go push your car for 100 feet, you probably couldn't take a 15-second break and then actually repeat that. But if you took a 5-minute break, you might be able to. Okay? So what do we use strength training for? We use it for performance as well and increasing lean body mass. Now this is very important right here. The increasing the lean body mass in the strength training is going to help us burn body fat, which is when it all comes down to. That's going to be very important, okay? So for strength training, 2 to 5 sets, 3 to 7 reps is really where we're finding people actually physically getting that raw strength from. And again, longer rest periods, not as long as power, but 1 to 5 minute rests are going to ensure that we get a full recovery and we're actually able to repeat the workload. Somebody who can actually lift maybe 400 or 500 pounds might need this 5-minute rest. Those of you who are just starting, maybe you're doing a little bit lower rep range, maybe you're lifting 100 pounds or so, you might need only 1-minute rest. It's all relative to you. So again, the exercise we're going to think about on this one, like think about your pull-ups and deadlifts when you're thinking about true raw strength. Okay, moving on. What a lot of people actually wonder is, what is this crazy word right here? Hypertrophy, okay? All you need to know about hypertrophy is it means muscle build, okay? Not necessarily so much strength build. This is actually where we break down the muscle and actually make sure that it gets bigger, okay? So let's talk about this one. This is going to be 3rd most in energy, okay? Again, it's going to be controlled, but we don't consider it explosive. We actually consider this more of a dynamic lift. And what I mean by that, it's almost a controlled tempo where maybe we lower a bar down 3, 2, 1, and then we push up. But everything we do in this rep range is going to be controlled, okay? Again, the energy system, not quite as much as the power, but it is down to a little bit of stored carbohydrate mixed with some oxygen and whatnot for this for building muscle. The amount of exercise time is going to be medium. And what that means is that it's not quite as quick as these first two, but a medium rep range could be anywhere from, let's say, like 15 to maybe up to 45 seconds of work, okay? And that considers it's about a short to medium break. So to build muscle, right, we're working a little bit longer, but we're also taking a little bit shorter break. Now, the reason why we want to do that is we want to make sure that the muscle is actually breaking down and getting fatigued so that it gets bigger, okay? In strength, we're worried about pushing more weight. In hypertrophy, we're actually worried about the muscle getting bigger. Two completely different things. So we use hypertrophy training to increase lean body mass, very similar to strength, but then also to gain physical attributes. So if I want to get my arms bigger, if I want to get my back bigger, my glutes and my quads bigger, I'm going to want to train in this rep range as well too, okay? So I'm looking at 3 to 6 sets and 8 to 12 reps. This is typical hypertrophy type training. 45 seconds to 2-minute rest. You notice that we're really getting a lot shorter than we did in the strength and in the power range. This is again because I need to break that tissue down. I need the muscle to get fatigued. I'm not worried about so much weight I'm pushing. I'm worried more about the muscle getting fatigued, breaking down, and getting bigger. Okay? Think of this one as your simple exercises like chest press and bicep curl like we just talked about. Now, the last one in our training, okay? Completely on the other end of the scale here is going to be endurance, okay? Most people have heard of this. This is what you consider like maybe your cardiovascular type training. This is going to be the fourth most in the energy system, okay? This is a controlled pace. It's not so much dynamic, it's not explosive, but what we consider is pacing. If you look at a marathon runner, they are training for endurance, okay? They don't look very explosive. They're trying to control their breathing and make sure they go the distance, okay? The energy system that we're going to be using for this, if you notice, it's not anywhere close to how I rank the other ones. We just have the energy system over here as oxygen, okay? So us taking breath in is going to be forcing us to be able to do our cardiovascular type exercise. Thus, the breath coming in is our energy system for us to move and the endurance, okay? The longest duration of exercise. So to increase endurance, you're not going to be able to get this by actually going out for a sprint. To increase your endurance, you have to be able to run or cycle for an amount of time, okay? And if there is any break, it's very short, if any, okay? And that might mean, I've seen a couple runners doing a stretch or two and then continuing their run. That's a break when you're trying to train for endurance, okay? Now, what would we use endurance training for? Performance, mostly, and decreasing fat mass. Now, you'll notice the difference between the power, strength, hypertrophy to the endurance. Performance, if we get better at endurance, we can actually run longer, right? Our bodies are more efficient. Cycle longer, swim longer, things like that. But decreasing fat mass. So a lot of you are probably going to ask yourself right now, well, how come I just don't train in endurance just to decrease my fat mass? That is an excellent question. The reason being is that you won't increase that lean body mass that we just talked about, that you're going to get from the hypertrophy and the strength training. So you do, yes, decrease fat mass, but if we don't increase the lean body mass, our body's just going to drop body fat, and then we're going to look like the skinny marathon runner, which is not always that great, unless that's your goal. However, if you can train both for fat mass decreasing and lean body mass, now we're on to something, okay? That's why we say that every single one of these is needed in the gym. So lastly, on the endurance, if we're looking for any reps and sets, something like that, I would just say this. If you're going to look for one set of endurance, you're just going to go for 30 minutes or more, okay? Let's say it takes, on the average, research shows about 30 minutes to increase your endurance. If you're looking at gym, like an exercise, it's really, if you're going to say, hey, I'm going to do a leg press or squats for 15 to 20, it's still going to be over into the hypertrophy and into the strength training. I think anything in the gym that you're doing over 15 to 20 reps for an exercise is probably a waste of your time. But if you are going to focus on running, cycling, swimming, things that are endurance type events, this is what you're going to look at. So we're going to look at over 30 minutes. And if you were to ever take a break, in all honesty, to increase your performance and endurance, you're going to need less than 30 seconds. Anything more than that is going to force yourself over into here, and then you might as well be doing sprints. Okay? So the takeaway lesson today is we talked about power, strength, hypertrophy, and endurance. And if you remember each one of those different energy systems, being able to take them all together and use them to your advantage to increase lean body mass, increase your physical appearance, right? Get stronger and be able to decrease fat mass, then you've got a better bang for your buck. Okay? And that's going to cover our Relentless Strength 101. Make sure you guys check back for the more in-depth series in Relentless Strength 200.